So when you were starting some business ventures, what hurdles did you personally have to face? When you're doing that, and how did you overcome those hurdles?
Sometimes it was lack of capital. So this is
Yeah,
where
yeah,
creativity comes into to play.
yeah. Mhm.
I had one instance where when I was younger, I had a lawn service business. What I did was I borrowed a neighbor's lawnmower. She was elderly. I made her a deal that I would cut her lawn for free, and I would do all the landscaping. Thus, I was getting a customer. I was getting a customer suggestion. She suggested me to all her other friends in her age group,
Mhm.
and I gave them discounts, of course. Uh, so that was one of the things, but just being creative and trying to find workarounds is something that was helped me out.
Mhm.
But a lot of times it's not knowing if you're just starting in a business. Oh, I'm sorry, starting in a space. Starting at the bottom and kind of having to figure things out. Kind of like when you're in the Army. When you're private and you first come to your unit, you're kind of, oh, what do I do? And then after a while, you're used to the
Mhm.
the battle rhythm. So I guess it's
Sure.
getting into a battle rhythm and figuring things out, and then getting to a certain level of mastery.
Mhm. Excellent, excellent. So was that obvious to you, or did you stumble upon those answers?
A little of both. I mean, some of them were
Mhm.
obvious because I've had several businesses along the way,
Mhm.
in between being in the military and then being in the civilian sector and then also being in the corporate sector as well.
Okay, okay, good
But
deal.
one
Mhm.
thing, James, I've always done. Brian Tracy, who I love and I've read a lot of his stuff, and he always says, always view yourself as self-employed. You are your own CEO of your own personal services corporation.
Mhm.
As long as you do that, you should be good to go.
Sure, and it's good advice. Certainly, some very good advice. So when you were starting your business, maybe you can kind of talk me through how you started. Um,
Oh, okay. So what I did was I wanted to look at something that I could do kind of on the side, a side hustle,
mhm.
but something that wasn't a local business. Since, as you know, being in the military and being an NCO, your phone always rings and you're dealing with soldier issues, you're dealing with spousal issues, you're dealing with all kind of things.
Sure.
I had a couple problem soldiers the past few years that really took a lot of my time, but
Mhm.
hey, it is what it is. So I looked at the drop shipping space, did a lot of research on it, and you know, what I did was again, YouTube, Facebook, did a lot of research and sought people out. And
Okay.
you kind of have to figure. So just in my experience, the people who were the gurus
Mhm.
that were really making their money off the courses,
Right.
they really weren't the ones that were going to help you. They'd help you a little bit, but they're like, hey, here, buy my course, which, okay, I can appreciate. But then there were the people that really put out great content that you kind of look and you search, and they weren't really putting out any courses. They were just doing it more to help people out.
Right.
So what I did was I kind of built my own little group of people, several mentors and people. And then what we did is we kind of have a mastermind group and we share ideas. Hey, what's working for you? What's working for you marketing wise? What's working for you as far as like algorithms? I mean, I found some great stuff like in Europe.
Mhm.
Nobody was doing anything in Europe. There's a guy named Ty Berdella who he's a really great YouTube channel. He's kind of gone away from the drop shipping space and more into the personal development, but he's based out of Denmark. And,
Mhm.
you were able to get pay-per-clicks in Europe for next to nothing and nobody was there. Well, now, of course, everybody and their mother, they figured that out. But for a bit there, for up to about a year ago, it was great. And we were doing fantastic
Mhm.
because that was just a virgin area that really no one was in. And you could get cheap conversion. I mean, you had really good conversion rates, cheap PPC. And it was a space where people were buying.
Right.
So that's kind of how I developed to where I am right now. But I've
Mhm.
kind of switched over to business models. I mean, I can tell you more about that if you like.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and because
Oh,
that,
okay.
that kind of leads to my next question then.
Oh, okay. So going from physical goods, I've gone now more to print on demand,
Mhm.
to T-shirts, phone covers, mugs, believe it or not. Because you could be more creative. Most people now in the dropshipping space are going to AliExpress or they're
Mhm.
going to other people. And if you look, everybody's selling the same, same junk for different prices, and they're running Facebook ads, and they're doing the freemium. Hey, I'll give this to you for free, just send me $8 when they're paying maybe 75 cents for this widget. But everybody knows the same thing. So now that market is kind of getting saturated. The good thing about the print-on-demand space is you can use platforms like Shopify or Commerce HQ, or there's other ones out there, but the two I use are Shopify and Commerce HQ. But you can get very specific and focused niches, depending upon if you're potato. And you can get very specific. I mean, now it's more the craft of niching down and looking at your niches and knowing which ones you are. Now, I will say there are some people that say, "Oh, just find a niche and go for it." Other people say, "Yes, it's something that you should be passionate about, or at least have an interest in." I kind of go that way. I mean, I'm not going to really be into, I don't know, let's just say, scrapbooking. Now it's a big niche, believe it or not. Nothing against it, but it's just not my cup of tea. So I'm not going to put the same amount of effort, and it's really something for me. It's hard to get excited about it, but I'm into cars. I'm into, different things like that. Scuba diving is one of my big things. So scuba diving is a very big niche. So you can do things like mugs. You can do things like shirts. And then what you could do is you can have your own designs. I also do hats. Hats do very well, and with hats, because you have such or caps, I should say, like trucker caps, things like that, distressed caps, you could do very well, and your margins are really well, and you only have a little bit of space here. So usually what I do with that is I don't even put designs, I just put text. And then you have companies like Custom Cat or Teespring. There's other companies out there. They're pretty much all the same, but they're US based. So what you can do is you can get your product out a lot faster. And it's not like the old days where you had a silk screen company and you had to buy X amount, 2 dozen, 3 dozen, and then you had, 500 pieces in different sizes and things here. But what I do is I also, instead of just doing the business model of running Facebook ads or YouTube ads or having a Facebook group and then selling that way, I do a lot of local business as well. I do a lot of things for units, sweatshirts, T-shirts, and they'd rather go through me than Joe Blow's T-shirt shop, because I'm a fellow veteran or a fellow service member, and if something's wrong, they can just come to me. I know where you work. I know what company you're at. But that's just one thing I'm really just have been getting into now. And it's just another. I guess it's like James, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So I don't want to get just concerned in this little cup over here, or this one flow. Income flow. And then, just start having more of them in different places in case something does change over here. You can move here, and then, the next thing over here, and so on and so forth.
Right. So is there another profession out there that other than what you're doing currently, that you'd like to attempt?
Public speaking. Really? I love public. Absolutely. I'm a people person, James. Anywhere I go, I could talk to anybody. Right now, one of the things I do in the Army is I'm a master resiliency practitioner, and instead of being voluntold to do it, I actually volunteered. I really do believe in that program. It helped me out quite a lot. But also, too, kind of like when you have, sergeant's time training or 50-1 training, and it's like, really, again? I always say to myself, you know what, if I was doing that, I'd talk circles around that guy, and I would make it engaging and fun, and I don't take myself too seriously. I am very humble. I try to be. I put my pants on just like you do. I breathe the same air. But I take pride in what I do. And when I have people coming up to me saying, "Hey, Sergeant Waters, wow, that hour-long class you gave was great. You really nailed it." And I really feel proud to do that. And to at least, have made something that was going to be a daunting, boring time that people enjoyed. So if I can do that, why not?
Sure. Yeah. That sounds great.
Well, thank you.
So if you're to describe what is your greatest strength, do you think?
I think my greatest strength is helping people, caring for people, wanting to help people out. But with that, though, you do have to, you could be caring, but you can't be too caring, because then that attracts people who are energy drainers, if that's if
Sure.
that's a good term. Yeah. Sometimes it happens. So you have to cut those people off because then they're just going to bring you down. But I mean, where you can, if you can help people out, even if it's just saying hello to somebody, sometimes just the act of saying, hey, how you doing? I hope you're have a good day now. That could be worth like $100 to somebody if they're having a bad day.
Sure. And on the flip side of that, what would you say your greatest weakness would be?
I think sometimes I try to do too much. I'll be trying to do 100 different things. Instead of maybe say, if I'm trying to do a thumbnail for a YouTube video, or I'm trying to do an ebook cover, instead of just going on to Fiverr and paying somebody in Indonesia like $5 or $10 to do it, who's pretty good at it. Oh, let me try to do that. So sometimes at least me, I have to tell myself, well, sometimes you can't do everything. Sometimes you have to farm some things out. I help the guy in Indonesia because, he's doing a good job, and that money you're going to give him, well, that might, feed his family for a day or two,
Yeah. I actually struggle with that one myself. Yeah. I'm constantly being told, I have the worst possible combination of bad traits. I'm not only controlling in things, I want to control everything in my business,
Sure.
but I'm also a perfectionist. So, I control it to a fault. So it's like the most toxic combination, I think.
Yeah, well, that happens though, because we want to, we always want to have things perfect. Being, in the Army, you always want to have that level of perfection, just because you have to. You don't do a proper PMCS in your vehicle and something happens, that costs people's lives.
Right. So you often hear about people going to a certain special place to get their ideas, whether it be, out in nature, or, walking their dog, or jogging, or, and some people it's latrine. Where's that place that you go to get your ideas?
I have two places. There's one place that, I don't know if you've ever been to Fort Lewis, but there's okay. So Solo Point, and if you've ever, I'll go down to Solo Point and just look out at the water, or I'll go out somewhere and just take a look at Mount Rainier. A lot of times I'll go over to the statue of Iron Mike, just facing, behind him faces Gray Airfield, and then you've got Mount Rainier. And, I'll just look at that and just, look at just how majestic and, that is, and just get some strength from there, get some reflection, get some, what's the word I'm looking for? Inspiration.
Sure. So it's kind of in nature as well for you, just kind of being out there?
Yeah. Well, I'm from the East Coast, so I'm from Florida, so I always was near the water. And my wife and I, we've always lived near the water, or been, like I said, scuba diving. I scuba dived and snorkeled all my life in Florida. People paid thousands of dollars to come there. It was in my own backyard. So, the ocean, the water, and then Pacific Northwest too. To me, this is one of the most beautiful places in the United States. It's not for everybody, but it's just a beautiful place. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I love Texas too, though.
Yeah, as long as it's not the summertime.
Yeah.
Yeah, summertime in Texas, it's like you starch your uniforms and hang them up, and 10 minutes later, the humidity has already destroyed the starch.
Sure. Sorry about my fur children there.
No, yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
You hear them in the background.
Yep. So if you describe your business from a very high level, or at least the process behind what you do in your business from a high level, for somebody that maybe wants to do what you're doing, how would you describe that?
From a high level?
Yeah.
Well, at first, there's a lot of people that get into this because they think that it's only 10 or 15 minutes a day, or an hour a week. Oh, you could run it like that if you want to, but it's just going to smash, you're going to crash and burn. It's like anything. You have to treat it like a business, a real business, and not just some little thing that you can do on the side. That's where a lot of people make a mistake, and they also don't take the time to really get all the information on it and find out what it's all about. A lot of people get into it for a quick dollar, because that's what it's proposed or purported to. Yeah. That's what it's made to be. That's the story they sell you. Like I said, you'll see screenshots of these people. Oh yeah, I've got, I did $100,000. Maybe you did. Yes. But that wasn't what you took home. That was